I was mentioning about the two traps. I call them activity traps. One is because they are traps. The other is they change the course of our actions. So let's see what they are. Now the two traps are called important and urgent, right? Sometimes everything seems important, sometimes everything seems urgent, but there is a difference between the two. There are times that we've spent so much of time doing something, thinking that it is urgent and there is a dire need for it, and people are depending on us on this. A process depends on this, and we're working on it all day long, only to be told that this is something very important, but it's not urgent. You could take some time doing this. Now you feel so wasted just having, given it so much of importance. Likewise, the other way, right? You're thinking it's important, I'll take care of it, but it must have been something very urgent. Somebody absolutely needs it, but then you relegated it to the background because you didn't know that it was urgent, and then you feel wasted. So these two traps are there, and because of that we feel like we have to constantly manage time, and we are like, I don't know how to do it. Going back to our beautiful formula of what is speed. Speed is distance by time, right? Now what is time? If we have to answer that question, right? Distance divided by speed. So therefore, how are we doing what we are doing, right? The speed in which we're doing things and the amount of area that we are covering, that is the distance, tells how we made that time more sensible. The optimum use of time plays a role at that time. Now, is it like a formula? That is the question, right? Space has a different time. Our time is different. You know that on this very planet Earth, each one of us are in different time zones, right? Time zones vary. So therefore, what is morning for one is already night for someone, right? And likewise, what is night for some is morning for someone. So there is constantly a difference in time. In fact, children, when they constantly misbehave, there is a parental way of disciplining them called timeout. We all know that, right? What is timeout? Giving them some time away from what they're doing currently, and during that said time they're supposed to sit and think about how their behavior was and change that behavior. During that time, sometimes parents even set a stop clock. What is a stop clock? In the grand scheme of things, it could be any time of the day. It could be 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It could be any time of the day. But when the stop clock starts, you hear a ticking sound, and it starts ticking and going round and round, which means their time starts now, which means their timeout starts now. And up until it ends, they're not supposed to get up, right? So that is the stop clock. Like that, each one of us have our own stop clock. It starts on a day and it ends on a day. So therefore, we must realize that time is very subjective for each one of them. They might not know when their stop clock is going to end. They, and all of us included, do not know when our stop clock is going to end. That said, we each are operating on these timeouts. Now, the timeout sessions may be different for each of these kids, right? Your timeout begins now, your timeout begins now. And then during that time, they're supposed to sit down and think. Like that, each one of us are working in our own time, but we are working towards common things. There is something called, universal time. There is an individual time. Just like how we spoke about in the values, there's a value system, there's a universal value system. So how does each one of them play a role? We're going to understand that in the next few talks, or perhaps in our chat sessions. Thank you, everyone.